Hi, thanks for tuning in to Easy Cooking and Living with Ria. Today I want to show you how to make the easiest chocolate cake with no butter and no eggs. Can you believe it? It's the most simplest and easiest chocolate cake you'll ever make. So if you have a sweet tooth, you'll want to try this recipe. So let's get started. Thanks for tuning in again to Easy Cooking and Living with Ria. So these are the ingredients that we're going to need to make our simple chocolate cake. We're going to need 2.5 cups of flour. We're going to need 1 bowl and something to sift our ingredients. We have a baking pan, a 9-inch baking pan, and a spatula to mix our ingredients. I have a 1/3 cup of oil. I'm using grapeseed oil, 1 cup of cool water, 1 cup of sugar. We're going to need a 1/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda, not baking powder, and 1 tablespoon of white vinegar, and of course, a teaspoon of vanilla. And I have some parchment paper here that I'm going to line my baking pan with a little later. So let's go ahead and fluff our flour up. We want to always fluff our flour up before we start measuring because flour can get really packed in there and you can measure out a little too much if you don't fluff it and get it nice and airy. Now, the one ingredient that I forgot to show you is salt. So we're going to need a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, which later on I'm going to add into our ingredients. Now let's go ahead and measure out our flour. We're going to need 1.5 cups of flour. So this recipe actually came about during the Great Depression era where people didn't have a lot of things in their fridge or pantry, so they just had to make do with whatever they had. So this recipe will not disappoint. It's simple, it's easy, limited ingredients, and it is still delicious. So you can actually whip this up and it doesn't take a long time. I actually made this recipe while I was making spaghetti carbonara, and I mixed up all of these ingredients before the water started boiling. So let's call this cake the quarantine chocolate cake. I'm not a baker. I don't like to bake that often, but I do like to cook. But when I do bake, I like to make something simple and easy. So if I can do this, you can do it. Trust me, you're going to love how this cake comes out. And it's actually pretty good if you're vegan or vegetarian because it doesn't have any eggs or butter in it. So I guess I can say it's vegan friendly. So now we're done sifting our dry ingredients. So we're going to go ahead and add our liquids in there. And then we're going to just stir the batter. And I'm adding in 1 teaspoon of baking soda, not baking powder. And let's go ahead and add the oil. So I'm using grapeseed oil, as I mentioned. You can use any kind of oil, like vegetable oil or avocado oil. And I went ahead and added in 1 teaspoon of vinegar, and then we're going to add the water. Now, if you don't have vinegar and you have a lemon, you can add in 1 teaspoon of lemon instead of the vinegar. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So now we're going to stir the ingredients together. So this is very important. You don't want to use a whisk or a cake mixer. You want to take a spoon, a wooden spoon, or I'm using a spatula, and you're just going to kind of fold the ingredients and mix it until most of the lumps are out. Don't worry about it getting it totally smooth. Just worry about getting all of the dry ingredients mixed really nicely together, and you're kind of just folding and stirring gently. If you mix it with a mixer or a whisk, your cake can come out too dense. So you want to make sure your cake comes out nice and fluffy, so you're gently stirring the ingredients together. So what are your quarantine baking? I know everyone is enjoying baking these days. I've made a banana bread, which is also a very easy and simple recipe to do. So what are you guys doing? Please comment below and let me know what recipes you've tried for baking that's simple and easy that I can try, because trust me, I don't have patience for baking. So I love easy recipes like this. So our cake batter looks great. All of the lumps are not out, but most of it are, so that's perfectly fine. We're going to put this aside, and now we're going to use our parchment paper. So you can use parchment paper, or if you don't have parchment paper, you can definitely grease the pan. I'm just putting the pan on the paper and just cutting it out like so. It's so simple and easy. You can buy parchment paper pre-cut if you'd like, but you know what? This works perfectly fine. So we're going to cut it out, and then we're just going to use this on the bottom so that the cake won't stick to the pan. It's simple and easy. I'd rather do this than greasing my pan anyway. So I forgot to add my salt during the dry ingredients, so let's go ahead and do that now. I'm adding a half a teaspoon of salt to the mixture, and then we're going to just mix it in. And then we'll be ready to stick it in the oven. So I'm just adding the salt right here, and then we're just going to stir it in to combine the ingredient to our batter. This batter looks really good. Again, I'm gently stirring it in. Now we're going to just add our batter into the pan. So our cake is ready to go in the oven. Look at that. It looks beautiful. I'm just going to tap the pan a little bit to get all the air bubbles out like this. And then we'll be good to go. We're going to bake it for 30 minutes at 350 degrees. So at 30 minutes, our cake is ready. So I'm just going to poke it with a toothpick, and as long as nothing comes out on the toothpick, that means it's good to go, that it's finished baking, and we're ready to let it cool off. I let it cool off for about an hour before I remove it from the pan. So I already had this sitting out cooling, so it's ready to go. I'm just going to take a knife and I'm just going to kind of loosen around the cake, and then we'll just get it out of the pan using a plate. So all you need to do is put a plate on it and then flip the cake over, and you should be good to go. There we have it. There's our cake. I'm just going to go ahead and peel off this parchment paper, which worked perfectly. Did not stick in the pan at all. Look how moist this cake looks. It looks so good. So let's go ahead and flip it again and put it on this cake stand. I'm ready for some cake, so let's cut it. I'm using actually the wrong knife to cut this cake. This is actually to scoop the cake. It's not to cut it. So let's get my slicing knife, which I should have just gone for that in the first place. As you can see, it cuts it so much better. So let's grab a slice of this cake. Let's take a look. Let's inspect. It looks so good and so moist. Can you believe that this is a cake without any eggs and butter? How awesome is that? And you can make this cake literally in 5 minutes and bake it in the oven for 30 minutes. And you can have a cake in about 35 minutes. So there you go. I'm going to enjoy this with some ice cream, and that's about it. I'm not going to make a frosting with this. I'm going to keep it simple because this is all about simple and easy. And I'm not a big fan of frosting anyway, so I'm going to enjoy this with some ice cream. As an option, instead of frosting, you can definitely add some powdered sugar on top of it for a pretty presentation, but I like to enjoy my chocolate cake with a little bit of ice cream on the side. So there you have it, our simple and easy chocolate cake. You don't need butter, you don't need eggs, and you don't need a mixer. You just need one bowl and your simple ingredients, and you can have yourself a delicious moist chocolate cake just like this. Please let me know what you're baking in your kitchen these days, and I hope you enjoy this quarantine chocolate cake recipe. Please let me know if you try it. Please leave me a comment. Please like, share, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe. I will see you guys soon. Bye.